All right. Okay. So this is the same funding source as those what we call Ag CWIP grants that a lot of our partners get for technical assistance, but we're pulling it out into a more specific scope of work. So this morning, what we wanted to do is just walk through what type of projects we're looking for this funding to provide support for, and then talk a little bit about what the application process is and answer any questions that you have, whether it's questions about what we would fund or who we would fund, or if it's questions about the application process. Because it's such a small group of us, feel free to just unmute yourself and ask a question if you have one as we go through this. This is a pretty informal time to walk through this. So I'm going to share my screen. All of the materials for this request for proposals for this grant are on our website. So there's a lot on our website, but this is under our Water Quality Division Assistance Programs. Oh, oops, actually, initiatives. I even get mixed up sometimes. And as I was saying, so this funding is through our Agricultural Clean Water Initiative program. All right, so here we are. And we're just going to walk right through the request for proposals. So this grant is specifically focused around technical assistance to the farming community, both farmers and custom applicators, around precision agricultural management. So as we've seen an increase in adoption across the state with farms taking on implementing and adopting the equipment itself and different, more innovative approaches to record keeping or manure application, we are seeing there's some more room for providing technical assistance to help farms really bring that system to its full potential. So this first part's just the introduction. You can contact me if you have any questions. You know, obviously, if you have questions now, please feel free to answer them. But anytime between now and when the proposal is due, which is June 1st, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. We are asking that applications are submitted to our general AGR water quality email. And just make sure you have that precision agricultural management proposal in the subject line so we don't lose that your email. We get a lot of our grant applications through this email. I do want to just thank you guys for hopping onto the call this morning and also considering putting in a proposal during this time. It's definitely timed a little bit inconveniently with the spring cropping and getting ready for all the field work this year. So it's definitely all happening at once, but we appreciate your time and interest in this. We have $25,000 set aside for this project, and this may be made available in multiple grants. Our goal is to have a good geographic spread throughout Vermont. So we are looking to see what the interest is out there and what's available for technical assistance throughout the entire state of Vermont, not just Lake Champlain or just Lake Memphremagog. All right, so just getting into the details of it, it's pretty straightforward. We're really just looking to fund our ag service providers that are out there, whether it's an organization, a business, and we also wanted to include individual farmers who might be interested in this type of work to provide services to the farming community to help them implement these new technologies that are available. So I just want to make a quick note. We included individual farmers as an eligible applicant because our thought is that there may be farms out there who have systems in place and are really in depth using them day to day and have a lot of experience and expertise to share with others. And we know that time is often a constraint and also financial resources. So this is an opportunity for a farm, if they want to provide some mentorship to a couple other farms, they could apply through this program to do that work. So I'm going to jump right down into the meat and potatoes of this request for proposals. So what we've done is we have broken out the scope of work into 4 tasks. And as a grantee, you can decide if you want to put a proposal in for all 4 tasks or for some of the 4 tasks. So I just wanted to make it clear that we're not asking for applicants to do all 4 of these things, but we do want to know what tasks you are proposing to do. So just in your proposal, that's something I would encourage, is just to make clear to us what task you are looking to do under this funding. So the first task, and it has a little bit of a natural flow, the first task is technical assistance capacity. So one thing that we don't have a full grasp on at the state is how much capacity is really out there for folks to be providing one-on-one assistance to farmers or providing educational materials to farmers regarding precision agriculture. And so this task category is for folks who have been wanting to enhance their own experience and expertise so that they can provide a higher quality of assistance to the farming community. So under this task, if you had a certification course or a workshop you wanted to attend or a training event where you then in turn would be able to provide a service back out to the farming community, we're willing to fund some of those activities. And even if you do already provide precision agricultural assistance to the farming community, but there's an area that you want to gain more knowledge in, again, this is the task category that you would want to put in your proposal. I'm really interested in getting certified in this course, or I'm interested in attending this training, and I'm seeking funding through this grant program. The other thing that we wanted to put in here, just to keep it open-ended, is, is there opportunity for, actually, I think I'm getting mixed up. That's the next category down. But I do want to make a note, though, that the real intention of this technical assistance capacity is not just to go to a training for yourself, but that you will then share the knowledge that you've learned with others. The next category, now that you've trained up, you've got your experience, you've got your knowledge, or maybe you're starting at task 2, is education and outreach. And so the intention of this is really the broader scope of providing farms and custom applicators with education and outreach materials on what type of agricultural equipment is available to bring the level of their stewardship or their operations, to a more innovative or modern sense. So this is meant to be a little bit more bigger picture. So if you have a workshop that you want to host, or you have some educational materials that you want to develop, like fact sheets or tips and tools type of fact sheet to hand out for certain pieces of equipment, this is that task category that you would be providing those details around that scope of work. The one thing that I was going to mention in the previous one that I realized is in this task is we wanted to keep this open-ended as well, that if you had an idea or wanted to develop some type of resource for the agricultural community as well, such as a reference guide or tutorial videos or an online Q&A style forum, this is a space for that as well. We're really trying to keep this open-ended because we at the agency, we have heard generally that folks are looking for more technical assistance in regards to their precision agricultural equipment, especially now that our state is funding a lot of pieces of equipment through our SEEP program. We want to make sure that that's a holistic system, that they're getting their equipment and then they're also getting the technical assistance they need to really bring that new system to its best potential. One note I'll make really quickly. So at the bottom of each task, we have these outputs and outcomes of activities. This is not necessarily required, but as you're thinking about your proposal, we want you to be thinking about what the outcome is of that activity. So for example, how many educational events are you going to host with this funding? Or in the education and outreach section, are you going to provide a survey at the end of your event and ask participants, did they learn something essentially? So we want you, as you're doing your application, to consider what the outcomes of your activities are. And these are examples that are really based on previous grants that we've done and what we've seen in the past. All right, the third task category is technical assistance. So this is really diving in further beyond those educational workshops and forums. It's really getting into the one-on-one consultation type work where a farmer's got their new system, but they need help setting up, calibrating it, or they've run into an issue out in the field and they'd like someone to come out and walk them through troubleshooting. So this technical assistance piece is really that one-on-one work, and it could be out in the field, it could be one-on-one through phone, but really this gets down into providing that real expertise level technical assistance to farms and custom applicators who are working on integrating these new systems. The fourth task category is software support and record keeping. So as we know, as a lot of farm equipment's been modernized and a lot of this innovative equipment has a lot of software involved in it. And so we want to make sure that farms have resources and people to access to help them through some of that software support. I know that sometimes equipment and dealerships have those resources available through the dealerships, but this is an extra level of support that can be provided. And another important piece to this is record keeping. So, when farms get these precision ag equipment pieces that are to help with their record keeping, we want to make sure that they know how to export those records and then how to incorporate them into their nutrient management planning. So it may be, you as a provider or having funding under this grant may be helping a farm set up a system or a schedule for maintaining and keeping those records organized. And then also, we encourage anybody applying for this task to think about working with a farm technical service provider or nutrient management planner to make sure that those records are being integrated into other planning areas of the farm. Again, we're thinking about this holistically. You get the equipment, the support, and then the records, and you're incorporating that back into your nutrient management planning. So are there any questions? I'll pause there. Are there any questions about the task categories and type of work that we're requesting proposals for? Okay, we'll keep moving on. All right, so performance requirements. So this is essentially the table of the outputs and outcomes that were listed above in the task description. So again, as you're thinking about your proposal, we really want you to think about what the outputs and outcomes are of the work that you're doing. And what will happen is whatever outputs and outcomes you include in your proposal, that's what will be in your grant agreement. So if you ask for $3,000 to go do some technical assistance capacity building where you're going to workshops and trainings and that type of thing, we want to know how many events you went to and then how many services you're now able to provide to the farming community. So those are just examples of the type of outputs and outcomes that might occur from the activities that you're conducting under those task categories. So again, these are examples. You're welcome to use these specifically, but if you have other ideas or other outcomes that you're envisioning as you think about the services that you may provide through this, please, include those in your proposal. Our goal is that the grant will be, that we will notify recipients by July, and that the grant will be 2 years long. So that's our goal, is that it'll be a 2-year grant. There will be reporting requirements with the grant. And that can be, after you submit your application, and if we review it and decide that we want to fund your proposal, we can talk more about what those reports may look like. All right, so the proposal format.
Whoops, could I stop you there for a sec?
Yeah, sure.
Yep. You said it's a 2-year grant. Just wanted to confirm that.
Yes, 2 years.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so the proposal format. So we did create an application template if that's easier for you to use. You don't have to use the application template, but I recommend it just because it essentially lays out all the information we're looking for. But, excuse me, just a sec. All right, so the first thing we want to know is who your project team is. Is it you? Is it multiple people? What's the name of your organization? Really, just any short and simple is fine. But the important piece to this is understanding what your experience is. So just including examples of the experience that you have working with the agricultural community, and even your experience with precision agricultural technology. Now, if you're applying because you want to expand your technical assistance capacity, what would be helpful for us to understand is how you're already connected with the farming community and what type of services you're already providing. So maybe you don't have a lot of experience in the precision agricultural world and you're looking to expand that. So in this area, if that is the case, I would recommend including your experience in working with the ag community and what type of services you currently provide. The scope of work, this is where you're really going to describe what task categories you're looking to perform your activities under. And so when you're describing what work you're proposing to do, what I recommend is listing the task that you're going to do it under, and then describing what activities you're going to do under those tasks. Don't forget to include those outputs and outcomes. And also, we're also looking for, I should have said this in the beginning, but the real intent of this is, that we're working towards helping farms utilize these resources, their precision ag equipment, or exploring it more. And the ultimate goal is that, we're benefiting water quality and soil health. So in your proposal, make sure to have some type of narrative, whether it's connected to your activities or in your introduction, on how this work is going to benefit water quality and soil health. There is a note in here just to include in your work plan how you're going to evaluate your activities and technical assistance. So this is really around, if you're doing a lot of education and outreach, just understanding how you're going to measure what the outcome of that education and outreach is. Are you going to do a survey? Is it going to be verbally? Are you going to do an online type of survey? Just understanding, we want to understand how you're going to evaluate the effect of the work that you're doing. All right, the budget's a really important piece. So we've included an example table. What we'd like to see, especially if you're applying for multiple tasks, is to give us a budget breakdown by task. So for example, the amount of hours that you're planning to spend or how much it's going to cost to sign up for that training. Are there supplies that you anticipate you might want to purchase as part of the technical assistance and the in-field troubleshooting? Let us know. The one piece that I'll make a comment here is travel. We expect that travel will be a part of your work, especially if you're doing that technical assistance one-on-one type of work. Through our grants, we cannot build them in a way where we reimburse you per mileage. And we can work with you if your proposal is awarded. What'll happen is you'll either receive a travel allowance or it will be built into your hourly billable rate. So if you do your budget and you put your travel expenses into your hourly billable rate, for example, just please make a note of that it's included in your billable rate. And that's a statewide grant and contracting requirement that we can't do a mileage reimbursement per mile anymore. I mentioned this earlier on, but geographic availability, please indicate what area of the state you plan to work on and provide your services. We are looking, across the state to see how we can provide these services more statewide. And then this is a very common state requirement. If you've ever done a grant application or a contract bid before, a certificate of compliance is required as part of this process. And there's a copy of the form at the end of this request for proposals and the application template. So once we receive your application, there will be a group of us at the Agency of Ag in the Water Quality Division who will review your application. And there's these 5 criteria that we're going to use to review your application and determine if it will be funded or not. So completeness, that's the first one. Make sure that you have that certificate of compliance completed and that you've answered all our questions and described your scope of work, that you've included a budget. Experience and qualifications. This is a really important part of the application. We want to understand what your experience is in the agricultural community and your experience with precision agricultural technology. Your work plan. Again, this is really the bulk of how we're going to be reviewing your application. What are you proposing to do? How are you going to do it? And how are you going to measure it? Geographic availability and cost. Proposals are due June 1st, which is 2 weeks away. So I know it was, again, a short time frame. So again, I thank you guys for expressing interest in this, especially during this crazy spring season, especially this week with the weather being so nice. We anticipate notifying grant award by July 1st. So that's the goal, is by July 1st, we will notify you of your grant award. I do want to make a note that we're at this time are not considering pre-award costs. So what that means is we wouldn't reimburse you for any activities until there is an executed grant agreement. So we're hoping to move these pretty quick in July so that work can be started right away. This talks a little bit about the details just about the grant agreement and payment. There is some paperwork that's required when we do payment. If you have never received a grant or contract or money from the state with us before, we do ask for a W-9, and we do require a certificate of insurance. There are reporting requirements, which again, a lot of these details, we like you to know right up front that there are reporting requirements and there are specifications for payment so that you understand what to expect, but a lot of this will be put into a grant agreement and discussed with you at that time as well if awarded. So this is some examples of reporting requirements. Examples, this is not necessarily required. Again, if you were awarded the grant, we would talk about what we would come to an agreement on what would be reported. But it's really summary of what type of activities you've been doing, outputs and outcomes, what have been your successes, what have been your challenges, If you need a change to your grant, we like to know that in advance. And at the end, we definitely like to see photos of project highlights. So that's something we really like to see with all of our grants, is just a project highlight so that we can share that with our funders. So that's the request for proposals. Does anyone have any questions about the scope of work or the requirements, what type of information we're looking for?
As far as
All right.
reporting goes, are there semi-annual reports due as well? Or just a final report at the end?
So right now I think in the request for proposals, we noted that it was quarterly, but it could be semi-annually. So I think that's something that we would work with the applicant on determining if semi-annual is what we want to do or quarterly reports, but there would be more than just the final report. And that's the same with payments. So sometimes grants are set up that the payment is associated with a report, and sometimes they're set up to be where you could invoice monthly. So that's something you could note in your proposal as well, is you know, if you want payment to be on a monthly basis or associated with that quarterly report. There's some flexibility, and we can customize that per applicant and, you know, what you're looking for. We really want to work with the people who are interested in the scope of work to make it a grant that isn't overly burdened with the paperwork side of things and really allows you to get out there and work with the farming community, and in a way that you're also being compensated for that time. Which I will make a note quickly. It does say this in the request for proposals. I must have skipped over it. Any work that you are doing under this grant, so say you get this grant to provide technical assistance to a farm or custom applicator, that service should be provided to the farmer or custom applicator for free. So we don't want double dipping, in essence. You know, if that service should be free to the farm. Because I know there's a lot of ag service providers, you know, you provide other services, and we just want to make sure that this technical assistance or education that's being provided is free to the farm and they're not being charged for it. So I just walked through the RFP. There is on our website an application template, which is essentially the RFP with spaces for you to put in what you're proposing. So you're welcome to use this template. I encourage you to use it because it has everything in it that we're asking for. But if you have a standard template that you like to use, you know, that's fine too. But yeah, I mean, just go through and put in your information where it's asking for information. The one difference is on the application template, there is a application summary section where, you know, if you want to give a 3 to 5 sentence summary of the project you're proposing and what the outcomes will be, you know, I definitely encourage you to put that there. Sort of your sales pitch, really. And if you do have matching funds, if you have another grant or you have another activity area that will be leveraging this type of work, please let us know. That is always helpful in reviewing the grants as well. But yeah, the application template, it's really just going through what's your team's experience, what tasks do you want to perform, how are you going to do it, what are the outcomes going to be. This is an example of a work plan describing the task category and then the outputs and outcomes that you want to measure.
I think it's still showing the website where it says download application template.
I'm so sorry. Thank you, Kat. There we go. Can you guys see the template now? All right. thinking. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. Oh, it's still thinking. There we go. Okay. So really, it's essentially the RFP put into a Word document with blank spaces for you to fill in. So the work plan, really, the heart of the application, you know, there's a section where you can put in your narrative about what you want to do, and just as a reminder, you know, think about what those outcomes and measurements are that you want to track, or that you're able to track. There's the budget table. You're welcome to use this, or if you have a budget table yourself that you like to use. Geographic scope, and then the attachment D, certificate of compliance. Again, this is required as part of the application. That's in here too. All right, so I know I've been talking for half an hour. So does anyone have any questions? Does it seem pretty straightforward? This is your time to ask questions. All right. Well, if you guys have any questions as you're doing your application, please, you know, feel free to reach out to myself or Kat. We're happy to talk with you about, you know, how to make your application, you know, full or complete, or give you tips on, you know, meeting what we're looking for. And we hope that we receive some, and we look forward to working with you guys. All right, thanks. Enjoy the beautiful weather today.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Bye.